Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 502. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
What's up, people? How's it going? No camera today.
Carlos Romero.
Yo.
And Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
All right, we're back with another one. Chris will be late, he says, and no Brian and Brett action. So for a while, you just got the four of us, man. But that's all you need, you know?
All four down, yo.
Yeah. All right, man. So, yeah, got a couple questions here, obviously. Most of them are about the PS5 Pro, the biggest story of the week. You know, lots of controversy there. So we're going to start off with a pretty, intensive question from Kishak. So I'll apologize to make it right now. There's a technical question, sir. So just have to deal with it. I'm fucking with you because, I'll talk about it later. But yeah. Listen, when you get a new console, you got to talk about specs. It's just how it is.
Yeah, you got to talk about specs. Yeah.
All right, Kishak. So anyway, his question is pretty involved. I think the disappointment over the lack of a CPU upgrade in the PS5 Pro, especially in relation to CPU-bound games, seems overblown. Currently, only 5 games fail to hit 60 FPS. Dragon's Dogma 2, Gotham Knights, Industria, the casting of Frank Stone, and The Quarry. Of these, only Dragon's Dogma 2 is truly CPU-bound, but the common issue with all these titles is poor optimization, as they also struggle on PC. Some of them don't even offer a performance mode on PS5. Most games today are GPU-bound. For a game to be CPU-bound, a bottleneck would occur only if the GPU could push more frames than the CPU can process within a given time. However, when you play at resolutions like 1440p or higher, the GPU becomes the limiting factor, not the CPU. Looking at Zen CPU benchmarks on Tech PowerUp, where a PC with an RTX 4090 is used to eliminate GPU bottlenecks, and for accurate CPU testing, the Ryzen 7 3700X, comparable to the PS5 and PS5 Pro CPU, averages over 110 frames a second at 1440p. Since the PS5 Pro's GPU is expected to perform similar to an RTX 4070, as Richard Ledbetter from Digital Foundry has mentioned, it's unlikely that the PS5 Pro CPU will present any performance issues. Do we think so? Because remember, we've been complaining about this. Like with the PS4 Pro, the CPU was the limiting factor, So we're worried that this may happen with the PS5. But Carlos, what do you think about this question, man?
Well, it's the whole thing where it's the chicken and the egg thing with this conversation, because the reason why the GPU is the biggest factor in terms of reaching the performance that these specific games that were mentioned by Kishak haven't reached there is because these games are being developed in a way where GPU is the most important factor. The CPU intensive games aren't really, developed on the PS5 like, they could have, because the CPU is a limiting factor. It's just the games that are developed for it don't really take into account a strong CPU. That's why the only way to scale it up is from the GPU side. So no, it's more of a thing like, yeah, if the PS5's CPU was a lot better than what it released with, then developers would take that. Well, hopefully the developers would have taken that into account and developed for it. But since the CPU is already the way it is, and in particular, developers know that whenever these iterative consoles release, it's only going to be a GPU bump. I mean, it was a precedent on the PS4 Pro, and a lot of them probably assumed that it was going to be GPU bound for the next Pro console. So most of these things are just subject to that, where like stuff like physics is what it is. It's more trying to rendering the rest of the stuff that has been limited. So I don't know. The whole conversation with the PS5 Pro, for me, it's more of I take sort of a different a different course to that, because the console's releasing at a $200 premium against the previous version when it released. At least the disc version was 500. Was it was that the digital version?
The disc version was 500. Yeah. So you're right.
Yeah,
you had it right the first time.
Yeah, the disc version was 500, and then the PS5 Pro is a premium. Is a $200 premium on that. The CPU remained unchanged. They updated the GPU and some of its bandwidth, and I forgot what else they updated, and it also updated the from to 2 terabytes from like whatever the hell number the original one was. It was some weird ass number.
Yeah, it was like 850 something maybe, or 826. It was some weird funky number,
Yeah. So I think the problem that I have a lot with this is not that it matters that I have a problem with it. They'll still charge what it is, but is that the changes that they made aren't that big. I mean, CPU isn't changed. GPU is the only thing that changed. So it's not that big of a change to say, a 4-year-old console that only upgraded the CPU, the GPU constitutes a $200 price hike. I feel like it's not really, it shouldn't be that much. And I guess that's the conversation that I feel like a lot of us had in here in terms of having the games, only requiring a GPU bump. Sure, for those games that were released for the previous iteration of the PS5, yeah, because I mean the CPU is what it is. The developers know what it's going to be. They're not going to develop this high intensive CPU based game because they know that if the CPU takes a bigger hit, then the games will be worse for it. When it's a GPU hit, it's like, we'll go from a 60 frames per second to a 30 frames per second, and that's how it's handled. It's much easier to handle GPU issues and CPU issues. So that's why it's this whole iterative process where only the GPUs changed, and everything, and the status quo with the CPU just remains the same because the developers already knew what their limitations were.
Yeah. Now, okay, potentially stupid question here.
Why is it?
I thought, again, I could be wrong about this. I thought the PS5 and PS4 just had like a single processor. Does it have a separate CPU and GPU, or is just
no? It's an what's an APU?
APU. Yeah. Okay, so I was right about that. But everything you said is still correct though.
Yeah, it's a system. It's a system on chip that has a CPU and GPU on the same die, or I don't know what they call it. It's on the same like system like thing.
Yeah, system on a chip. Like Steam Deck also has an APU, which is also AMD. No, the reason I kind of want to ask that is because like basically it's very rare, like, and I'm talking about gaming laptops specifically, or even just regular computers. Like very rare to have like CPU, games that are mainly handled by the CPU. You know what I mean? Like, but this is a different case because like there are some chips with like integrated graphics, and obviously those don't perform very well. But this is a little bit of a different case here. Oh, by the way, shout out to Kid Shack, who's in the chat right now. He got a couple of follow-up comments here. He goes, I think most CPU-bound games are usually exclusive on PC, like Civilization and simulation games. They only have so much space on that single chip to include a bigger GPU and CPU at the same time.
I don't know if the GPU size changed in terms of the physical space it takes on the SoC. I have no clue. Because GPU transistors are getting smaller every time. So getting smaller chips on these things. So maybe even if the GPU has more cores and it has more processing power, it's still possible that the GPU chip itself is smaller, even though it's more powerful. I don't know to be honest. So, yeah. But and shout out to Mob Hits for the bits.
Yeah. Let's make it rain. But I guess the heart of the question is: should we still be worried about the fact that the CPU hasn't been upgraded? Oh, and are those concerns overblown?
I mean, the thing about it is like I don't think that in general they would. When we said this before, it's like they're not going to throw another CPU at it, especially when in this generation. I don't think any console has ever done that in their sort of, in a generation or upgrade. And I think it just mainly has to do with just the fact that it's the groundwork of the groundwork of their system. Why would they change the CPU? In other words, if you're going to put a new CPU inside of there, you're probably going to have to deal with a whole new set of, things that may not be that may cause issues with the previous one, right?
Yeah, you want to keep as much parity as possible.
Yeah, you'd want to at least keep them as much parity as possible.
Yeah,
So
but they have to hit that weird middle part where it's like they got to make sure things are still compatible, but they need to still offer people an upgrade. You know what I mean? So it's like they have to find this fine line there.
I mean, here's one thing. Like, what is like? Okay, so like if they did add some sort of new, they're adding a new GPU which has some sort of advanced, ray tracing abilities, right? Is that warranted needing to be a lot larger than the previous one?
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, shout out to Bubba Bass Anglers, Mr. Torrance Davis himself in the chat over on YouTube. He goes, "Hell no, it's not better than a PC." That's my clickbait title.
It's not
that's my clickbait title for this episode. Is the PS5 Pro better than a PC?
It's that's definitely a clickbait.
Yeah.
But I think in general, it's like it's a consumer grade. It's a consumer grade like console, so it's not going to be. It's not going to be. It's going to look good, but it's not going to look nearly as good as a PC. That's what it is, plain and simple.
Yeah, see, there you go. Torrance goes, I clicked. Yep, we got you. Shout out to Reggie over on YouTube as well. Remember, guys, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, we see all the comments. Yeah.
One thing I want to know about is like, okay, obviously with all the talk about pricing, I'm sure we have a question about that. Why isn't there?
We don't have a.
Oh, well, okay. So let's put this in there. Yeah. Why isn't there? Especially with it being like pretty much $700. Why isn't there a payment plan for this thing?
Yeah, because consoles traditionally haven't done it. But the question is, why don't they have that?
Yeah, why at this point we're talking about a really like. Cell phones have payment plan.
Yeah, remember, Manny, if you recall, we had the same exact conversation when the PS5 came out at $500. Like, why don't they have payment plans?
Yeah, why don't they have a payment plan? Like, like those statues that you get from Sideshow Collectibles and a bunch of all those other sites. That's what they have. Like, there's $1,000 statues. People are not throwing down unless you got some serious money. They're not throwing down $1,000 for a statue. They're doing a payment plan. So if you set your thing out for a couple of payment plan, right? What is it, $700?
Yeah, $700.
You could put if you can spare maybe $100 a month to pay off your console. It wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah. By the way, Bob Hits, thank you for saying that. Yes, Microsoft actually does have a payment plan. I think you have to be a subscriber or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know they have some kind of payment plan. So what's up, Carlos?
I will say this. It is a missed opportunity by Sony. But I will say that there are different ways or workarounds to that. I mean, Amazon has payment plans. I'm pretty sure Walmart has it as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
There's different. There's that I can't remember what that credit union thing is or whatever. It's like a free thing you can sign up for, where in other words, it splits up the payments for you. It's called Karma or something like that, I think it's called.
Oh yeah.
Klarna and Affirm. Affirm is another one.
Affirm is another one. Yeah.
So you have like some of those things. They have those payment plans on there. But yeah, like I feel like they should if they are going to do this thing, if this is going to be the world we're living in, we're going to be paying close to $1,000 for consoles now. They should start offering some sort of payment plans for people who want to still get them, but don't have the money to drop it all at once.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris, who just joined us.
What up, Chris?
All right, there he is.
Hello.
He's setting up.
Yeah, Chris, you have any thoughts on the the PS5 CPU not being upgraded, and do you think that's going to be a problem?
Well, yeah, I would think that a mid-gen refresh would include a CPU upgrade or a change or something, some kind of architectural change, along with GPU added RAM. I know they increased the storage to 2 terabytes, but I don't think Cerny talked about if they updated anything in their custom SSD, because it's an on-the-board solution that they did in PS5. So I don't know if any of that got faster, but in terms of raw power, you have to do something with the CPU. Otherwise, I don't see how you call this pro. I don't see how you call this like a major update. I mean, even every iPhone, even if it comes out every year, there's some kind of architectural change in the APU and the phones, and the Galaxy is the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, so you have the next version.
Chris, basically, the heart of the question was like, Kishak says that since most games are like GPU bound and that GPU has been upgraded, will the CPU actually be a hindrance?
Well, I think so, yeah, because if let's say you have like an older, like, I don't know, 11th gen or 10th gen i7 or an old Ryzen chip, but you go and spend the money on a 4090, your CPU is going to be a hindrance in something. Some things are pushed through it, So even though you have a top of the line graphics card in your PC that's several generations old, you're gonna have problems. So you're gonna have bottleneck. That's gonna be a bottleneck. No matter what you think, like there's nothing that uses 100% GPU. There's no software, there's no game that does not touch the CPU at all. Like, maybe with like some rendering and stuff, but there's other stuff that doesn't, and it needs to do calculations, and the system needs to access it. So the better your CPU, and also there's some kind of controller parsing things between GPU and CPU for it. So if your CPU is slow but your GPU is like way fast, and then the parser sends stuff to the controller sends stuff to the CPU, and it takes long to process it, that's in a queue that waits, right, to send other instructions out. So you want both of those to be as fast as possible. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. Couple comments here. Let me read through these. Reggie says, I don't necessarily agree with the price of the Pro, but if you don't want to build a gaming PC or already own a PS5, it might be good. Remember, it's a niche product. That's a lot of people have been saying. Cornbread TV, what's going on over on YouTube, says, the price is crazy, but I'm still getting it, even though it should have been $5.99. And then Kishak, who originally asked the question, says, the thing is there is no perfectly balanced PC build where both CPU and GPU neither bottleneck each other. What do you say to that, Chris?
There's no, wait, say that again?
There is no perfectly balanced PC build where both CPU and GPU don't bottleneck each other.
Well, I didn't say there was. I just said if you have a disparity between both of them, you're going to have to wait on one of them. And the bigger that gap, right, the longer your instruction queue takes to run. The longer, that's why I gave the example of the controller. No, there's no absolute parity. Like Intel and Nvidia aren't sitting down saying, how do we get our pipelines to be fucking as optimized as possible so that there's no way. You have two disparate systems that have to work together, right? They're put together on an APU so that they can run as fast as possible, but you want both to be as optimized and as fast as possible. That's what I'm saying. There will never be absolute parity. That can't happen. But what I'm saying is, if you have if you have a gap between one or the other, then one is holding back the other one. That's what I'm saying.
Chris, do you think that one of the reasons why they did it is because they wanted parity between the previous one and this one?
Well, I don't.
Or better compatibility, I think would be a better way.
Or better compatibility,
yeah, basically, because they still, PS5 games still need to run on this thing. So I just imagine that's why they couldn't go too crazy But granted, they're both x86 anyway, so I don't. Maybe that would matter.
I'll put on my tinfoil hat with that answer because I don't know, but I think that they probably had an overheating problem trying to clock what they had higher, right? So they probably were trying to solve that, and maybe AMD wasn't ready to commit to, maybe a different build process or a different APU. Maybe it's not ready, so they just said, okay, screw it, we'll just use the same CPU set that we're using now. Because if you introduce a new one and you clock it higher and it overheats, right, you're going to damage systems, right? And you can't put that out. You can't have they don't want a red ring of death situation. Mm-hmm. So they probably just said, screw it, just keep the clock speed the same so we avoid that issue. And we'll just push the GPU higher because we can. And then we'll just do other optimizations and put more storage in it. And they call it a day.
Yeah. Okay. Kishak says, would you guys rather have, or would you guys rather upgrade your CPU or GPU if you could only afford one option? It's an interesting question. You generally want to upgrade both if you can, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a PC, it's harder, right? Because if they change the chip layout, you have to buy a new board.
Yeah, which is the situation I'm in,
Yeah. But you can always get a new card, right? A new GPU card. You could get the 40 series GeForce and just put it in your PC right now.
Yeah.
But see, that answer is multi-tiered because you have, if you go, I want a new CPU, well, you gotta get a new motherboard, then you gotta rebuild. You're basically rebuilding your PC, so that it's cost effective.
Yeah. But by the way, that's also the conclusion I came to with my PC, because basically, because I was like, I want to upgrade to at least a 12th or 13th gen Intel, but I would need a new motherboard. But then I started looking at it, I'm like, I may as well just get a whole new PC. With all the shit, it's just, it'll be better that way. All right, man. A good, stupid headphones, like a low battery. Anyway, we'll see how long I hold out.
Plug it in.
Yeah, I'll plug it in, after I ask this next question. All right, next up, got a couple questions here from Jay Shep. Okay, is the difference in power between the PS5 and the PS5 Pro greater than the power between the PS4 and the PS4 Pro? I'm not. I can't even answer that one. I'm not sure.
Well, I would wait till Digital Foundry starts doing measurements.
Yeah.
I would wait till it's out and they start running a few titles on it and then making those comparisons. They'll probably do that comparison too. So I would just wait on that. I wouldn't speculate on that answer.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. By the way, Nate, what's going on, brother? He goes, most people are upgrading their GPU, and because a lot of CPUs right now don't need to be upgraded right now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in some cases that's the truth, but in my case, I would need, a new CPU and a new motherboard,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It just really depends on what's going on at the time. I mean, when you're going from, specifically right now with the GPUs, one of the big things is ray tracing. If you have a GPU, oh god, no, the ray tracing. When you have a GPU that doesn't have ray tracing, and then you go to an RTX card, it's like, oh, I need to get a new GPU, or DLSS, or DLSS 1, DLSS 2. It's like those are the types of updates that a lot of people are focusing on. But CPUs, it's not as dynamic, I would say, in terms of the way that those are upgraded, because for GPUs, they're just finding a lot of different ways to add shit to it. That's why they're costing so much more, and that's why all these major companies are buying up GPUs for the data centers. So yeah, the GPUs are going in through a big, renaissance in terms of what they can do, and they're defining the ways that what a traditional GPU could do back 10 years ago as opposed to what it's doing now. So yeah, right now the GPUs are really going through this big ordeal right now. So they're the hotness.
Yeah. I wonder how big they're gonna fucking get, man. Have you seen one of those 4090s? The ridiculous size.
Oh yeah.
I'm imagining what the 5090s gonna look like. Like, you know, you really would need to build a whole new PC because your current joint probably can't even house that thing. You know, it's crazy, man. But yeah, I agree with Chris. Let's wait until Digital Foundry gives us the breakdown on that one. The question's a little too early to ask, but great question, and we'll definitely get back to it. Another one from Jay Shep. Why are fanboys, I love that how he's just saying it's fanboys. Why are fanboys comparing the upcoming PS5 Pro graphical results to what a PC could be capable of instead of comparing it to the base PS5 or Xbox Series X?
Because because a lot of people are seeing this as almost like a PC upgrade when it really isn't. It's just a console, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's what it is. It's like I think a lot of times people sort of see this as like the and it's still at its core is a consumer grade product. So it's gonna definitely gonna look better on your better than the previous one, but it's not gonna look anywhere near as good as a PC.
Yeah, or run as good as a PC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But but it makes sense though because it's more powerful than the current console. So what's the next thing to go to? PC, and then obviously people are throwing around the comparisons that it has like the graphical prowess of like an RTX 4070. So I get it. And remember when the PS4 Pro came out, those comparisons were also in abundance. So I'm not surprised. But I don't think it's a fanboy thing. I think it's just a natural, the next logical step. You're not going to compare them to like last gen consoles. You're going to compare them to, to a PC. I mean that's not one to one either, obviously, but it's the closest you got. What's up, Carlos?
Yeah, it's definitely what you mentioned, but I will say this. It's there's like every type of fanaticism, there's different factions. Obviously there are the fanboy aspect where the reason why they're doing it is they're trying to compare PS5 Pros to PCs because the best PCs can, wipe their ass with the PS5 Pro. Yeah. So they want to use that as ammo for the fanboy war. But yeah, in terms of the natural step in terms of talking about consoles these days, it is natural to mention PCs because not only are they going up in price, but we've sort of reached this threshold to a point where it's almost indistinguishable between consoles and PCs now. The only difference is the UI and the OS that's in each machine, because in terms of what people are talking about, we're talking about specs. Does this have how many terabytes is the SSD? Oh, is this SSD 4th gen? Okay. Oh, do you have external SSD? What about the GPU? Does it have ray tracing? Okay, what about the CPU? So there's just this whole conversation, memory bandwidth and all that stuff. People are talking about it. This is what PC folks have been talking about for decades. So, back in the day when people were playing Nintendos, I mean, they're still playing them, but back in the day when Nintendo was and Sega were the only games in town, it's like, 16-bit, and that's as far as the conversation went.
Yeah. All right. Oh, but there's some good comments tonight, man. And Nate goes, content is king. If you ain't got the games, I don't care. So I'll have my PS5 Pro and my PC, and I'm not waiting 18 months to 2 years to play a game I'm not promised tomorrow. They have some deep shit, Well,
I mean, there's also there's a lot of talk about that's going on now too. We're like, I'll just buy a PC. I'm like, are you going to can you resist the FOMO? I mean, obviously, folks like Brian, he's like, it shows up when it shows up. So he's very much out of the system. Yeah. But not everybody else is like Brian.
Yeah.
People want to have those conversations as soon as the things are out, right?
I will say this, and shout out to Brian. He's not here right now. Brian has been dipping more into our side of things.
I noticed that lately. Yeah.
He's come to the dark side.
Yeah, he's come to the dark side.
He's playing games, closer to launch or at launch, So he's coming around. He's coming around.
I mean, the way I think the way Brian is like when there's something that's really enough for him to do it. But one thing is sure about Brian, he will not pre-order anything.
Yeah, that's true.
That still is one rule.
That's his rule.
And he broke it in 2020. He won't do it again.
Well, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. See.
No, because he had a previous straw that broke the camel's back, but then he had to break that back again with Cyberpunk.
Yeah, he did it again with Cyberpunk.
Had a relapse.
Yeah,
sometimes that FOMO is real, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to be there at the beginning of the, be there in when everybody's still talking about this stuff, right?
Yeah,
but
GZDR says you won't be able to play GTA 6 day one on PC. You won't be able to play Wolverine day one on PC. You will need a PS5 or PS5 Pro. Yeah, but you don't need a PS5 Pro for that. You could play it on PS5. Yeah,
you can still play it on. Here's the thing, the PS5 is still a comparable thing. Like you got, we said this before, and it's been said before. The PlayStation 5 Pro is for people who want a little bit more, right? A little bit more out of their gaming experience, right? So if it's a again, I agree, it is very, very high, and for a home unit. But at the same time, it's like it is seen as like the outlier. If you're an enthusiast, you can get this thing, but still needs a layaway program, man.
Oh man! All right, moving on here. Mob Hits. Shout out for the bits again, man. First question here: do you guys expect Xbox to announce a mid-gen refresh in response to the PS5 Pro? Nope. They absolutely not. So. Not in response. Here's the thing. Microsoft has known this thing has been in development for a long time. If they had plans for that, they would have already released their system. They don't have any plans. And they're certainly not going to go, "Oh shit, this just had dropped. We need to do it now." It's not going to happen.
As I remember, the Series X actually is pretty damn powerful, even for what it was at the time. So I'm thinking that's partially the reason they officially see themselves as running the Xbox Pro.
Yeah. Rich, what's up, man?
And I think they said as much too.
Yeah, I don't believe that they're going to release a mid-gen refresh. I do think they are going to release the next console before Sony, though. Because they've already said that they already have a console in development. So I could see them announcing this, releasing this in 2026. I don't know if the PS6 is going to release at the same time. I'm just saying, when you see what's going on with Microsoft, all the reported issues with Series S, I'm pretty sure they know they need to release something else to try to change that narrative. So I'm pretty sure they're going to release their next console or announce it before the PS6 is announced. And it very well may come out before the PS6.
Yeah, and also let's not forget, Phil Spencer specifically said they already had a mid-gen refresh, the Xbox Series X. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. But you're not going to have a company decide we're going to do hardware just like, oh shit, this just dropped. We need to do it now. It's like,
you definitely. They most definitely knew what the competition was doing already. So it's like, yeah. What is it? So what's the next what's the next refresh of the Xbox? And my guess is that the one that's going to move back is they're going to discontinue the S. X has become the new S, and then you put a new letter on the next the next series.
Yeah. 2026 I feel is too soon, but no sweat for me. All their games are coming to PC, talking about Xbox, so I'll continue to play on there. That new Xbox won't be for me. Yeah, I skipped Xbox this generation, and I will again. There's no point,
especially if most of their titles are all on PC, and if you have a good enough PC to play it, yeah, why not?
Exactly.
You don't. But to be honest, I think that's what they don't see a difference between the console and whatever their thing is anymore. It's all one umbrella now. So,
Pretty much.
as long as you are playing it somewhere, that's what they want. Because again, software is king. Software is where these companies make most of their money. So,
yeah. All right. Excuse me here. Another one from Mob Hits. Will PlayStation bring back the infamous 8K sticker on the new Pro? They should, right?
yes. Now it'll be able to do it.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
I mean,
sure. Why not?
That's part of the reason I do not sweat any of the bullshit that these guys are saying with this 4K garbage. Because again, they have to do a refresh on the damn console to get it to run everything, to run everything in quality mode and run at 60 frames per second. Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, to be honest, I stick with my 1080p television because apparently it's still everything's fine. Because all those games are running 1080p half the time anyway, with an upscaler on it. So,
yeah. Kishak goes, if a new Xbox is released in 2026, would it have any fully exclusive games, or would it be fully cross-gen until PS6? Xbox, remember, they've already said this. They are not going to have exclusives on the systems. The games will come out day one on all platforms, PC and Xbox in this case. So Xbox is never going to have exclusives again for consoles.
Well, I mean, they're going to have console. They still do have console exclusive.
But but they don't. They come out on PC as well. Understand?
Yeah. No, but I'm saying it's still an exclusive to the console. It's not on any other consoles. Well, yet.
No, but he's but he's saying, will there be games that are only playable on Xbox, not on PC? Nope.
Oh no, that's all. They want everything to be on, all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That's not going to be a thing anymore.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got a sponsored question from Mr. Romudeth, who's picking up another
Mr. Romulan.
With Microsoft releasing games on PlayStation, do you guys think that any of those games will get enhanced for the PS5 Pro? It depends on the developer,
Yeah, it does. It does depend on the developer. To be honest, I mean, maybe, but I don't think they would. I think they'll just leave them alone.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Let me make this comment. I do expect Indiana Jones to get enhanced because they were very excited to announce it's coming to PlayStation 5 the same time they announced, it's also coming to Xbox and Game Pass December. So I think that is going to be enhanced.
Yes. I don't know. I don't know too much about the old games. I don't know if because Sea of Thieves has, it's already ran its course. They're not making new stuff for Sea of Thieves, right? And the other one was the ant game, the Honey I Shrunk the Kids game. That's not really getting much to it. Tango GameWorks, they've officially said, at least for a few months ago, before when they were closed and then reopened again, that they released the last update for Hi-Fi Rush. So yeah, I don't think any of those older titles are going to receive anything significant. Unless there is a mandate that they need to do it. But I think whatever they are is what they are.
Yeah. And Nate says, I think they will enhance them for PS5 Pro. I just don't think it takes as much work to do the Pro enhancements as some people think. So I think Xbox new games will get enhanced. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to say no. It depends.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, I don't think it's going to be the old games that are getting it, but definitely the new games. Stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Go ahead. To say piggyback something that Nate said. I agree. I don't think. I don't think it takes a long time to do the PS5 enhance for the Pro, but the thing that takes the most time is the give a fuck aspect of the developer.
Yeah.
So if there's a developer that doesn't really care about putting up a PS5 Pro version of their game, then that's usually the biggest obstacle.
There's one more game we can expect to be enhanced, and that will be Starfield. When it is announced, it is coming to PlayStation 5.
Or Hellblade, right?
There you go. Yep, Hellblade. Yep, 100%. Yes.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Yes, sir.
Will there be a PS5 Pro enhanced version of your favorite game of the year, Concord?
Hell no. Hell no.
As far as PlayStation is concerned, Concord doesn't exist.
It's done.
Yeah, they really wiped it out from the map.
It wiped it out. They wiped it out of all the stores. They
Man.
wiped it off of their thing.
Doesn't even have
The
any
only thing-
representation in Astrobot, man. Nothing.
The game doesn't have any representation, and Astrobot, you know, Astrobot just walked over its grave. That's
Yep.
it.
Well, I guess the little dead Astrobots are Concord, right? So
They're little dead Astrobots. Yeah.
Go ahead, Carlos.
You know what? I was surprised that there was a lot of third-party representation for Astrobot. I'm like,
There's a lot.
yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. There is definitely a lot of third party, but there's also an insane amount of like deep cut PlayStation stuff in there. They had like Mr. Mosquito in there and Rogue Galaxy and like Legend of Dragoon, and there's a good amount of like PlayStation stuff in there too.
Yeah. All right. It's like a two sidetracked here, but yeah. So Xbox, the newer games will probably get enhanced, but older ones, no, that's not going to happen. They're not going to waste their time. All right. Moving on here. Dumeke, you already know. With diminishing returns in graphics becoming more evident with the showing of the PS5 Pro as the most recent example, if the PS6, Xbox Series Y put less budget into GPU, i.e. not chasing 4K data or whatever, and more into other features, what would you like to see? We've been kind of asked this before, like what next gen do you want to see? And Carlos, you and I were kind of talking about this in the Discord the other day,
Yeah.
Because I do
Which y'all
think,
talking about?
Yeah, we were talking about whether graphics have hit a plateau, and we kind of agreed it's like they don't have to have meta plateau, but since developers kind of choose the easiest route out, they have. You know what I mean? They're not gonna, they're not gonna do indestructible environments or shit like that. Things that would be dope. So, what would you like to see? Again, these are things that we've discussed this before, and I don't think we're gonna see any of this stuff like better AI. Like, remember Fear? Those fucking games, dope AI. The last game I played that had insane AI was Alien Isolation. You know, I'm like, yo, this thing's smarter than I am. But you don't see that in games, and like you said, Carlos, structural environments, you don't see that. Yeah.
It's one of the cool things going back to Astrobot. It's so freaking small, but I just love the way that they introduce a lot of different. When you go to a place where there's like a lot of like diamonds, and it's like just a whole crazy ton of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They essentially have like there's those diamonds, or it's like a bunch of skulls, or it's a bunch of like
hands.
Yeah, like all kinds of like your leaves and stuff like that. They do that sort of subtle thing in there. So
yeah, so that's one aspect that that we could potentially look forward to. But yeah, I mean we talked about it ad nauseum throughout the life cycle of this show. In terms of destructible environments, it's just one thing that it's a different paradigm. It's a different part of the curve where in terms of what graphics is concerned, where it could take a leap, but they're just not putting that much effort into it because it is CPU based for the most part, unless a new graphics card, Nvidia or something puts something like that into their cards. But yeah, I mean we're just, and like Tony mentioned, the way that graphics is focused on, it's primarily just resolution. And we're reaching sort of a plateau moment where nobody really cares about 8K like that, like they cared for 4K, and no one cared about 4K as much as they cared about HD. So those are diminishing returns. We got to get to some different aspects, some different paradigms of graphics where it can improve. I mean, this is a completely different way to take graphics, but it's no one's really going to do it in the future because it's just so intensive. But the Cuphead format of doing graphics is fucking incredible. But it
takes a million years to animate that shit,
Yeah, I mean it's all animated in once, so That's 24 frames per second. 24 frames per second. That's what they're doing. So it's a lot of animation, a lot of work, a lot of man hours. So.
What about voxels though, Brett? Where you at?
Well, speaking of voxels, that's how I think Astrobot's doing all those particles. All those things are all there, because what you can do with you can do with voxels is you can change the primitive shape, so you can make circles, you can make diamonds, you can make all kinds of other different things. So I'm thinking that's how they're doing it. They're all a bunch of voxel primitives that they've got, essentially replacing them.
Returnal uses voxels, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can change. Thing about voxels is they don't need to be squares.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Manny. What do you want to see?
Well, I mean, I would like to see. This is a like, as far as like, we've sort of dipping our toe into the ray tracing world, right? But you still notice that a lot of games are still using a lot of a lot of smoke and mirrors to really achieve a lot of this stuff, right? So you'll see, like, okay, you have reflective surfaces, you have like light that reflects off of all other objects, or the shadows that essentially have that, what do they call it, a penumbra effect, where in other words the further away from the surface something is, the more kind of like diffused the shadow becomes. So like when it's on the floor, you see it like it's really sharp, where the object is touching each other, but you don't see a lot of that stuff. So I'd like to actually see them really go into full ray tracing mode and have all of those features running.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because again, like even like now, like even though like PlayStation and also Xbox do have ray tracing features, half the time it's only just to do a reflection, or most of the time it's even turned off. It's not even turned on in Astrobot.
No, it's not.
Right? It's all front, like reflection, with front facing, ray tracing. So I'd like to see all of those features actually be running, as opposed to sort of like, hey, look, even though these guys have like, they're really good at sort of creating these sorts of things, but really just being able to have it on and not even no compromises.
Yeah. Well, what platform provides that?
The Pro,
the PC.
the PS4 Pro,
yeah, the PC,
PS5 Pro.
You want uncompromised ray tracing for games that support it. There you go. But just real quick. But even on that end, I still want to see ray tracing improved even on PC, because it's still not perfect.
Yeah, they pick and choose when they use it. You can see when they do, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously, stuff like Unreal has their software ray tracing Lumen, which is, it works, but it does have a lot of flaws to it, especially because a lot of times it's only just set to screen space, just like a lot of certain things. But it's like, yeah, it would be nice to be able to see, like, okay, no, now they're on. Now all of this stuff is on. Everything reflects, everything pushes light, everything does, does that. And then also, like, the other thing is like, I'd love to see where games don't clip into itself.
Oh,
yeah, like where, in other words, you see it still, just gamey things, right? Characters, like cloth clips through bodies and things like that. Like, I'd love to see a more a more robust physics system, where it comes to like, when it comes to these sorts of when it comes to clothing, or it comes to cloth or other things in the environment, where they don't just, like, in other words, you catch one frame and it just goes right through the guy's body.
Yeah, like, I don't know how much that work I would take, but like, how like when you put on alternate costumes for characters, it's like clip city, so it'd be nice if they kind of got rid of that,
like Wukong, like, you swap his outfit out, he's clipping through his own outfit like crazy, like, it's only the second outfit.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, any other innovations you guys want to see beyond just graphics?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Two. First and foremost, innovations, features. Number one, I need to see games.
Yeah.
Because this generation,
Yeah.
this generation, PlayStation and Xbox been slacking off with the titles.
It's
So
true.
that's number one. Number two, you guys mentioned Astrobot multiple times. This is my opinion. Astrobot is the best game that fully utilizes the DualSense controller.
That's a
And
fact.
obviously,
Yeah.
obviously there are a lot of devs. It's up to them how they utilize that controller. But I will say this: if a lot of devs had a chance to play this game, I expect them to be inspired to think about how they can better use their upcoming games to utilize this controller. And same thing for Xbox. If they introduce any other technology with the next Xbox, I want the devs to actually tap into that because it does make the experience more immersive. So that I definitely need to see because the Astrobot, it blows everything out the water when it comes to using the actual controller. It is an experience in and of itself.
No, I agree. Great use of that controller. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
It's not-
Carlos.
it's-
Yeah,
it's
go
a-
ahead.
It's a different experience, man. Funny thing. One thing that I did with Astrobot a lot while I was playing it, I muted the TV, listened to a podcast, and got all my sounds from the controller.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like,
Yeah,
that's all I needed.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I kind of did the same thing too. But damn. All right. Good stuff there. And all right, two more questions for the night. Jolly Yellow Nerd. He asked us this question last week, but it was after we had already gone live, so I didn't see it. So we will answer now. With Concord pretty much being a failure in every metric, do you think we're going to see some heads roll? Maybe some layoffs among the team that worked on it? I predict Firewalk Studios is going to be shut down. That's what I think. You know? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna mothball it and pluck some people out of there and push them around Sony, put some in Bend and some more at Santa Monica. They'll move some people, some key people around, but yeah, Firewalk is probably done at this point. Like 8 years and $200 million down the toilet. I don't see them getting a second chance to do anything.
It's over. So yeah, they're not gonna just some heads on the roll. Whole studio's done. You know. All right, here. Hey, go ahead, man.
Oh no, I just said, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. All right, and the last question of the night, Mr. J. Shep, another one. After more Microsoft layoffs, a report surfaced that Call of Duty Warzone Mobile, quote, didn't hit as good as hoped, end quote. Will Microsoft be able to sustain the success that Bobby Kotick created with Activision Blizzard? I get it's too early to tell, man. Too early to tell, you know. I don't know that much about Call of Duty Warzone Mobile to talk about it, so I don't know why it may have dipped. I know it was doing well on mobile, but yeah, I can't really say. This question, it's a good question. Don't get me wrong, but a little too speculative. We won't know until 5 years from now or something. You know. Go ahead, Rich.
I agree. It's hard to predict, but what I can say is that I do believe that Black Ops 6 is going to be a very big deal because, again, this isn't exclusive to Xbox. It's going to be on PlayStation and PC, so I'm pretty sure Microsoft is going to make a ton of money off of that. But, yeah, as for the future of what they do with Call of Duty, that's to be determined because I have no idea. Microsoft always has these great opportunities to do certain things, and then they still find a way to mess it up. So, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, Mop Hit, so it's Embracer Group should pick up Fire Sprite. I don't know about that, bro. That's crazy. Yeah,
man.
GCR says agreed. They are done, especially since they are connected with Jim Ryan. New leadership wants to bring in their own choices. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, that studio's done. And Call of Duty, I have no idea. Don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much they would want to keep them around for this, or if they might end up essentially combining them with another studio. You know, like maybe a Bungie or something like that, or just try to combine some things together. Because I mean, But they also only just acquired these guys too, right?
Yeah. But again, since we're still back to that question, yeah, I think they'll dissolve the studio and then just move the people around to other studios within Sony. Because that way they they get rid of that dead weight and don't look as bad on the PR tip. Because we saw what happened with Microsoft earlier this week or late this week. People were very upset about that. But it was bound to happen. All right, man, we're done here. That's all the questions for tonight. Another good show. Rich, what's going on with the coalition, man? What's coming up this week?
Yeah, so we got a ton of content coming this week. A lot of reviews are getting posted. Shout out to Mr. Adam Vale, posted up his NBA 2K25 review yesterday. You can check that out if you like. I did a preview for Undisputed, the boxing game, as well as Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 as well.
Oh, shit. Nice.
But yeah, we have a lot of game reviews and previews that are going to be getting posted throughout the week. So if you are curious to hear our thoughts on some of the upcoming games, definitely check out the website. And I believe in about 2 weeks, it will be the return of the I Am Negan podcast with myself, Adam Vale, and Carlos Romero. So stay tuned for that as well. Yes, a very busy time of the year.
Yeah. Couple of things there. GZR asked, what did Microsoft do? They laid off 650 employees. We talked about it on the Thursday show.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and Reggie has a question for you, Richard.
Uh-oh, here we go. Controversy.
What is shepherd's pie? Reggie, man, character.
I've never tried that, Reggie. I know that Reggie has tried Boston butt, and even I haven't tried that either. And by the way, we're talking about food here, all right? You guys, I don't
Reggie,
know,
what you eating, Reggie? I didn't know you get down like that, bruh.
Shout out to Logic Wins, who's giving a shout out to the Spanish version of me, Rich, and Adam's show called Yo Soy Negan.
Yeah, and of course, you gotta do the nuke.
The nuke.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, shout out to all you brothers in the chat, man. You guys are awesome. All right, man.
Yeah.
Throw down, son. We're done here, so make sure you follow us on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord with the conversations. The rumors are always popping. You could also find us on any podcast app by searching for Throwdown Show. And if you have been watching us on YouTube and like the video, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when we go live every Thursday and Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, man. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
And Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good week, everybody.
All right, man. Get ready for whatever new controversy happens this week. Oh, man.
Can we not have controversy? Can we just have good things?
Get some games.
I'm gonna make
some games.
I'm gonna make a Michael Pachter like prediction. I expect more bad news from Ubisoft this week. It seems like every week we get something, so it's like Captain Obvious type of prediction. But I think we're gonna hear more bad news from Ubisoft this week, and we will cover it. So get ready for that. Tony's on insider. No, it's just I'm reading the tea leaves. Ain't no insiders around here.
Coming.
All right, guys. We'll see you on Thursday, man. Later.
Later, guys.
Later.